sure to listen to this. And we're going to go from there. All right? Please subscribe.
I don't think anything went wrong. I think that Gennady may have thought that he was way ahead. I tried to explain to him that it was a close fight. We needed to get the last round. We got it from one judge and didn't get it from the other two. But that was the pivotal run that made it 1 point for Canelo, or 1 round for Canelo.
Yeah, that was a deciding factor. Hey, let me ask you something, Abel. When it comes to Gennady not staying around for the press conference.
Here. This too.
Judges saw him winning, then he won.
What was Gennady lacking tonight? What did he miss about, taking the fight over the edge to get a clear win?
I thought that he thought in the end of the last couple rounds, I thought that he was ahead, so he didn't do enough. I kept imploring him in the 10th, 11th, and 12th that I needed those rounds. And I think the 12th round was a pivotal round. I think the 12th round was a round that lost us the fight. I think the one judge gives it to Gennady, then it's a draw. But what a great fight, man.
The body work, round 6, it looked like it took a toll on Gennady. How long did it take him to recover from that?
I think that they both landed some great shots.
The fight is over. It's over. Let's talk about what's next for Golovkin. Also, I want you to listen. I almost forgot to get this for you guys. This was a very interesting view from Paulie Malignaggi. And Paulie Malignaggi, let's face it, in the past, he's been very critical of Golovkin. But in this case...
And I think watching the fight, I think if you just forget about the two styles and your preconceived notions about Golovkin being the boogeyman and coming forward and Canelo having to go backwards, if you forget the preconceived notions and watch it just as a boxing match, I think Golovkin won the fight.
Spencer, I've not seen you since that fight. That was one you were really excited for. What did you think?
I was really excited for the fight. Originally, when I first watched it, I had the fight to Golovkin, but that's because I'm reading Lennox Lewis's tweets. Right? And then going back and watching it, I'm saying, you know what? Maybe you could have given it to Canelo. It was a close fight. But because I think, as Paulie likes to say, the untrained eye, we're watching a fight and being wowed by the punch dexterity of Canelo, the way he put the shots together. You're going to think, wow, Golovkin's very good. But I think he is a victim of his own success because we just want to see him knock out guys. And when we saw Canelo now, Canelo threw eye-catching shots. Canelo was the one who was pressing forward in the earlier rounds. So therefore, I could see why he got the decision.
How often was Golovkin on the ropes?
No, he wasn't on the ropes.
So if you back up a fider and you can't...
I said he was pressing. I didn't say he backed him up. Don't misquote me now, Mr. Magic Man.
If you press a fighter...
Right?
You call
me the Magic Man. I'm Merlin up in here.
If you press a fighter, but you can never get his back to the ropes, is that effective aggression or is that called getting outboxed?
Now, let's look at it like this, right? I've had a chance to think about some things, right? I had Canelo winning the fight because I looked at the things that, for example, right? Jabs. Golovkin landed, according to CompuBox, double the jabs. The jab was his most dominant punch. Now, I'm sorry, but the way boxing is today and the way boxing is judged today, it's not fair. All judges judge on different criteria. You have some judges that love the jab. You have some judges that look at it as like a throwaway punch. However, jabs should count as points. Golovkin landed the most punches. He threw the most punches. The problem is Canelo made an adjustment from the first fight. Instead of backing up in the first fight and being evasive, this fight he stood his ground. Paulie was right. Golovkin wasn't backing up. Golovkin wasn't against the ropes, but the problem was Golovkin and his team talked so much shit going forward. That's why Abel Sanchez is humble, because Abel Sanchez and Golovkin and that team knew that in this day and age, in boxing, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, he was not going to get a decision like that over Canelo in Vegas. They knew it. And they let him off the hook. They let Canelo off the hook. I get it. I can see how Golovkin won a narrow decision in your eyes. I can see how majority had it a draw. But those judges were like, listen, we're going to give it to somebody. And Canelo, he's shown us that he's not afraid of Golovkin, and he's coming forward. He's fighting the Mexican style when Golovkin told him to fight Mexican style. And what is Golovkin doing? Jabbing, 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 jabbing. Let's talk about what's next for Golovkin. Canelo is likely going to be fighting David Lemieux. I have a theory, an interesting theory, because Oscar De La Hoya just fancies Errol Spence. I have an interesting feeling we may see Canelo versus Spence in May. If they do Canelo versus Lemieux in December. If not, they will see Canelo versus Lemieux in May. But they're really trying to get Canelo to fight in December, even though we've been hearing it for now will be 3 years. Remember, he fought Cotto November 2015. By the way, I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. Please subscribe. Golovkin is likely going to be back in, April or May. They want to stay very close to that April-May timeline. He needs a little bit of a break. He's accomplished so much over the last few years. When it comes to now a legitimate pay-per-view star. For example, I'm going to do a little bit of math for you. For example, for this fight and the first fight, he should walk away with close to, if not $100 million, right? This fight was $84.99 on pay-per-view here in the States. You could buy on Comcast, the Dish, DirecTV, Fios, online, Fight TV, $84.99 for high definition. If this fight does 1.5 pay-per-view buys, let's do a little bit of math, right? Let's do a little bit of math. Would you like me to pull a calculator up on the screen? Nah, I don't feel like doing that. So let's say, you know what? Let's do a little bit of math. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I'm sorry. We're going to do it. Because somebody didn't really understand earlier. So let's do it, right? The pay-per-view, $84.99. So you're going to go 84, bam, 99 times, let's say, for example, let's just say that, okay, the first fight did around 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. Let's just say that this fight does the same, 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. The last time it was $74.99 for high definition, and now it's $84.99. Okay, now we're just going to count United States pay-per-view buys. Let's say through all of those services I've mentioned, from Fight TV to HBO pay-per-view on the Dish, Comcast Xfinity, RCN, or whatever cable company you have. Let's say it does 1.3 million. So 1.3 million, right? It's $110 million. Okay, now, Canelo versus GGG gate. The first gate for Canelo versus Golovkin was $27 million. This one also sold out. So let's say the ticket prices were a little more expensive, and we're going to go with plus 30 million. Right? Now, let's say they get another, you got to count in international rights and shit like that, right? This fight was also over on BT Sport for BT Sport box office over in the UK and other territories for a lot cheaper. What do y'all pay? About $25, $30 or so? About $25, $30 or so for. So let's say they gather another, let's just be measly with it, just from overall international buys outside of the United States, TV rights and all that. Let's just say plus 20 million. Boop. You have over $160 million right there. Now, Golovkin is guaranteed $5 million. Both Canelo and Golovkin are guaranteed $5 million, plus a 57.5% split for Canelo and a 42.5 split for Golovkin. So let's go right. Let's just do it the easy way. 43. It's about $70 million or so right there Golovkin's going to walk away with for this fight. Obviously, you can imagine what Canelo's going to walk away with, right? So imagine what he made for the first fight, plus this fight. Is Golovkin really a loser? I mean, remember, now he's a pay-per-view star. Can you imagine if this shit does 1.5 or over? We won't find out the pay-per-view buys. By the way, it's 8:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, September the 20th, 2018. We won't find out the pay-per-view buys for maybe about another week and a half or so, as everything is getting tallied up. Looking at, who Golovkin can possibly fight if he decides to stay at 160 pounds. Because let's face it, the big money fights for him are at 160 pounds. Unless he goes up to 168 and fights, the winner of the World Boxing Super Series, Conor Smith, George Groves. Who? Danny Jacobs. He can fight the winner of Danny Jacobs, Sergey Derevianchenko. If Canelo Alvarez doesn't fight them next, which likely he won't, he can get that IBF belt back. You got Billy Joe Saunders, Demetrius Andrade. Now, remember, Canelo wants to come back in December, but Jacobs, Derevianchenko, Billy Joe Saunders, and Andrade are all fighting in November, a week apart. No, October, a week apart. Golovkin can fight him, maybe one of these guys, because they'll have a title, can get Canelo in May of next year when he returns, May the 4th, 2019. Golovkin can go fight the winner of Rob Brandt versus Ryota Murata and get that WBA underling world title. Golovkin didn't. He may have lost his belt, but his stock, even in his defeat, is rising and has risen. I'm glad his team was humble, even though they're saying, that they feel they won. Here, let's listen to a little bit more, Paulie.
If you press a fighter,
he wasn't getting outboxed.
He was getting outboxed. He was getting jabbed at will. Golovkin was landing good lead right hands, good combinations. Canelo would land the occasional big shot, good body shots, great body shots, but he never put a sustained attack together. In the rounds that he won, he did. He just didn't do it in enough rounds.
I've just realized that I've been listening to for years, even listening to on the Abel podcast and everything else. You just got something against Canelo. Seriously. Just work it out. You have. Tell the truth. Look at me in the face. Tell the truth. Come on, Paulie. I still love you. I love you.
No, it's nothing against Canelo. If he would have won the fight, you got to be busy to win the fight. You don't get a win just because your name is Canelo. You got to win because you boxed the guy.
But unfortunately, say to as in London, Lara, going out to him, same thing.
Yeah,
you do actually get wins if your name is Canelo.
Yes,
because his name is Canelo.
Of course, he gets the win, but I'm saying
how it goes.
To the trained eyes.
Yeah.
When we see through it. And like I said, I give Canelo the credit for the adjustment and fighting a better fight. But he didn't fight a good enough fight to win. He fought a better fight. Right. And I think I would appreciate Canelo more if he had lost this fight, because he lost it. To me, he lost it. And I think I would still appreciate him because even though he lost it, he had made the adjustments and he tried in a different manner to beat Golovkin. To me, he still lost the fight. But the fact that he won the fight, I have to give Golovkin the credit because I'm saying now his boxing ability is being unappreciated because, like you said, he's a victim of his own success.
By the way, I think Paulie Malignaggi is the best commentator. You have Al Bernstein, but overall, from a technical standpoint, I think Paulie Malignaggi is number one. And that's a very, 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 very valid point. But once again, unfortunately, in this day and age of boxing, we knew that Golovkin wasn't going to win that type of fight on the cards. Canelo, all he had to do is make one adjustment we've seen. He had to come forward. Even if he wasn't pressuring, all he had to do to convince the fans, his fans, and it convinced the judges. And the judges, the way it works is they're going to pick one side. They're going to pick the Canelo side. It's always been like that through the history of boxing. I hope that these guys fight a third fight. Golovkin deserves it, but the problem is a third fight, people are going to say Golovkin's just 1 year older, especially if he loses. But a fight like this, yo, there has to be a third one. There has to be. But when? And will Canelo be a motherfucking diva about it? When, though? When? Hopefully September next year. I'd be surprised if we get it in May of next year. I doubt it. You know, like this is the first time in this era where we see fighters fight 3 times back to back. I mean, remember, you know, Golovkin had that little pit stop with Martirosyan. But will Canelo fighting 3 times back to back? Even though it still is the biggest fight for both of them. What other fight can both of these guys fight to make more money? Floyd Mayweather. That's it. We don't know what's going on with him. Let's leave him whatever he's doing with whatever that event is and whatever. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. Please subscribe.